Good evening and thank you for joining us. There's a new police chief in Thunder Bay. Longtime RCMP officer Darcy Fleury has been selected to lead the force. The decision was announced today by the Police Board Administrator Malcolm Mercer. Fleury is a member of the Red River Métis and has been involved in policing in Manitoba, Ontario, Alberta, and Nunavut. Mitchell Ringos joins us live in studio with more details. Mitch?
Thanks, Ryan. Well, Fleury is coming to Thunder Bay with 36 years of policing experience, most recently serving as Chief Superintendent with the RCMP based in Edmonton. We spoke with Fleury today, where he acknowledged the difficult task ahead and said he's planning to bring a brand new approach to Thunder Bay Police and the community. The police board established a governance committee in August of 2022 with board and community members to create a selection committee for a new chief. Police Board Administrator Malcolm Mercer says that committee brought a variety of comparable candidates to the table, but overall, Darcy Fleury was the right fit for this position. Mercer says his perspective on the communities and challenges that face Thunder Bay is a real advantage.
What I will say about Darcy Fleury that for me is the most significant is I think he is a fundamentally decent man who is thoughtful, kind, and capable of clear thinking and hard choices. And that combination is not common.
Fleury says he doesn't have much experience in Thunder Bay, but he has been keeping a close eye on the news surrounding the police force for quite some time. He believes having open communication within the community is key, as he will be focusing on establishing a strong relationship with all organizations and governments when he arrives.
I enjoy talking to people and getting out there and seeing exactly how we're providing service, if it's appropriate. I always tell the people that I'm talking with, the community governments, tell us the good, the bad, and the ugly. If our office isn't managing what you're asking us to do, then we need to know so we can take appropriate steps to change that and make it better, make the partnerships more efficient and effective. And that's what I think I'm going to bring there.
Fleury is also eager to meet and work with the police board, as he believes they can make meaningful changes in the community. He also spoke about his approach for the Thunder Bay Police Force internally, saying he plans on establishing a positive learning environment throughout the force.
You know, some of the ways of thinking, the leadership styles, they can't do that top-down, heavy-handed sort of stuff. It's got to be fair, and it's got to be, people have to understand why we're doing certain things. So I think that's going to help. My approach to that is going to help, I think, internally as well, so that like I say, everybody feels valued in that organization, and that if there are changes to be made, then we'll have those tough conversations with people and make sure that they understand that the line of thinking that I have, and I think it's a very successful plan on creating that learning environment.
Fleury will arrive in mid-April to begin a one-month transition period with Acting Chief Dan Taddeo, followed by a formal change of command on May 15th. Mitchell Ringos, TBT News.
Reaction to the news of a new police chief has been pouring in from across the city and region today. We spoke with a number of local leaders to get their thoughts on the police board's choice. Jonathan Wilson has that story.
Thunder Bay Mayor and Police Board member Ken Boshkoff says Darcy Fleury brings a fresh perspective to the role and says the entire board will support him when he arrives.
This is a very positive step, and the fact that you see a unanimous decision and a lot of endorsement from around the table in the room tells you that it's been a long process. It's been arduous and thorough, so I hope the community embraces the decision.
Once the formal change of command takes place on May 15th, current Police Chief Dan Taddeo says he will be retiring and says he believes the city will be in good hands with Fleury as chief.
And I believe when you look at the resume of Chief Superintendent Fleury, he brings a lot of tools. He has a good toolbox, and I'm very optimistic that he's going to absolutely succeed, not only with members of the community, but also internally with members of this police service.
Also reacting was Thunder Bay Police Association President Colin Woods, who, like Fleury, has an Indigenous background.
He's bringing his experience to Thunder Bay is going to help us. His background is going to help this city and the community, and hopefully with some of the struggles that we've had over the last couple of years with policing in the city and our relationship with the community, we can kind of mend the fences and build those bridges and make them stronger.
Anishinaabe and Aski Nation Deputy Grand Chief Annabette Ashley Peneskam has been highly critical of the police force's treatment of Indigenous people and cases and called for the disbandment of the Thunder Bay Police Service last year. but she says she's willing to sit down with Fleury when he arrives and see if he can bring about change.
We certainly applaud and appreciate all the individuals who did apply for the Chief of Police, knowing that it was going to be coming with an abundance of challenges. And so we look forward to meeting with the Chief of Police and continuing the relationship.
Jonathan Wilson, TBT News.
City staff have until September to create a list of municipally owned surplus land that can be sold to create additional housing. City Council has asked for the list to include parking lots, urban areas, and parkland. Vasilios Bellows reports.
The decision by City Council means administration will begin establishing a list of possible surplus lands to be sold and developed.
Since we own these lands, I hope we have the tools we can use to ensure the development of the lands will result in more affordable and attainable housing while balancing the possible concerns of the neighborhood.
The memorandum was brought forward by at-large Councillor Casey Atraney, who believe this could grow the city's tax base, promote urban density, and lead to more affordable housing in Thunder Bay. City-owned lands that will be considered include urban areas, parking lots, and parkland, with a report now due back in September at the latest.
We do own property. It's certainly a conversation we can have about, is it the right amount? Is it too much? Is it too little?
Councillor Andrew Folds believed this to be a beneficial exercise for the city, but had issues with including parklands as potential areas to be sold and developed.
I think that this is a situation where we are going to potentially create a lot of heartache, a lot of anxiety in neighborhoods, and it's not something that I would be able to support in the future, so I can't support it now.
It led to Folds bringing forward a motion to eliminate parklands from the list, but that suggestion was rejected by an 8-5 vote. There were other councillors who stated that while they wouldn't want to see green space developed and sold, it's still important to consider all possibilities, especially if some of these areas are not being used by the public.
We don't know until we get that list. I would not recommend selling off a whole bunch of parkland to see new housing unless it was not utilized at all.
No one's out to sell parks here, but that's not to say that we might not look at a section of park that maybe the administration might recommend is a plausible thing to do.
Also during the meeting, discussion surrounding an updated Pool 6 master plan. It was last updated in 2015, but there have been significant developments since then, including discussion surrounding a science center, art gallery, and exciting cruise ship seasons. Next up is public consultation that begins next month, which will include community stakeholders, with the updated document coming back in late 2023 or early 2024. Vasilios Bellows, TBT News.
Thunder Bay Superior North MPP Lise Vaugeois raised concerns over Northern highway safety at Queen's Park today. She's calling for better provincial training requirements for transport drivers after a deadly weekend along Highways 11 and 17. It began with a dangerous incident in Beardmore on Friday when a transport veered off the highway and plowed into two homes. There was also a tragic collision in which a snowplow operator was killed on Highway 17 outside of Ignace. Then on Sunday, there was another deadly crash between two transports near Marathon, which led to the death of one of the drivers.
In northwestern Ontario, we experienced another dreadful weekend of carnage on our highways. I heard from an OPP officer this weekend who is afraid to go to work because the highways are unsafe. What is the Premier doing to make sure that all truck drivers are fully trained and experienced in winter driving before they are licensed to do cross-Canada deliveries?
Ontario has the most robust commercial licensing system anywhere in Canada, but that doesn't mean that it's enough. We are continuing to review our commercial licensing process to make sure that we are strengthening regulations, to make sure our truck drivers have the training they need when they get out on the road for themselves, as well as for all drivers on Ontario's roads. Just in January, electronic logging devices became required on Ontario roads, and that is something that Ontario was leading the Federation in, making sure that Ontario trucks are equipped with electronic logging devices.
The Ford government is set to table its 2023 budget on Thursday. The Premier and Finance Minister are both touting their spending plan. Siobhan Morris has more on the key priorities that critics say have to be addressed.
Only 2 more sleeps.
Until the government tables its spending plan for the year ahead.
It is a plan that will support families, it'll support workers, and support businesses today while laying a strong fiscal foundation for future generations.
The finance minister insists being responsible doesn't mean spending less on programs.
I don't think you can cut your way to prosperity.
But educators say they're already being asked to do more with less.
We're experiencing staffing shortage, not only in teaching, but education workers across this province. It doesn't have to be this way. The government can invest in publicly funded education.
In healthcare, the expiry of some pandemic funding is being blamed for plans to lay off 13 nurses at a small community hospital near Barrie.
I know that there is something deeply wrong if a hospital is laying off nurses in the middle of a staffing crisis and an emergency room crisis in this province.
The Minister of Health highlighted plans to expand the hospital over the long term.
I'm not sure if the member opposite is second-guessing the work of the hospital CEO, the public board at Stevenson Memorial.
Also key to the province's fiscal plan is getting more homes built, including on former Greenbelt lands. The federal government's reportedly planning to launch an environmental study of an urban national park next to those lands now open for development.
Shouldn't slow down our development plans. It's adjacent. It's not right there, but good luck to them.
Siobhan Morris, CTV News.
The Ford government is providing about $6 million in provincial disaster recovery funding to several towns and cities here in the Northwest in response to major flood damage last spring. A number of communities experienced road and highway washouts, along with culvert failures and other damage. The record flood levels were due to heavy precipitation combined with increased snow melt. The Municipal Disaster Recovery Assistance Program helps cover the costs of the emergency response, debris cleanup, and repairs to municipal infrastructure. Ignace tops the list, receiving more than $1.7 million. Fort Frances is getting close to $1.5 million, while Kenora gets $1.3 million. Red Lake will receive over $700,000, while Sioux Lookout gets more than $450,000, and Conmee Township receives $146,000. Municipalities are eligible for funding if their disaster-related costs ring in at more than 3% of their taxation levy. The Transportation Safety Board is blaming unstable ground beneath the train tracks for a major derailment in this region 3 years ago. The incident happened on the CP rail track just west of Ignace in May of 2020. 53 hopper cars filled with grain went off the tracks. Some of the grain was spilled. Fortunately, there were no dangerous goods involved and no one was injured. The train was headed from Winnipeg to Thunder Bay with 222 cars and 3 locomotives traveling at 74 kilometers per hour. TSB investigators found the surface beneath the track at the accident site consisted of soft, saturated peat in an area with poor drainage, which made the tracks unstable. The TSB says following the accident, CP Rail improved the track infrastructure in the area to reduce the risk of a similar incident happening again. A local disability advocate wants the city to improve sidewalk clearing following a snowstorm. Tracy Hurlbert says there are still sidewalks that haven't been fully cleared since last Friday. That forces her and others with disabilities onto the street.
What I hate most about being on the road is a lot of city drivers are not prepared for us. They don't know where we are. I go as close as possible to the curb, and sometimes that's not very close because the roads aren't plowed very well either some places. So sometimes I am in the middle of the road, and I hate that too. But, you know, please don't blame me for that.
Hurlbert says it can get scary, especially when the sidewalk snow melts and then freezes overnight. She adds it isn't just a hazard for those with disabilities, but also older citizens who need to use walkers to get around. A City Roads Division official admits sidewalk clearing has been slower than normal due to the amount of snow and some equipment breakdowns. However, as of today, all main arterials and most residential sidewalks are now done. Hurlbert says while it's frustrating some sidewalks aren't getting cleared in a timely manner, she also understands the city's problem.
Is that they don't have enough people to do the jobs. We have a lot of empty jobs out there. I'm not sure how they're going to do it. Maybe hire more companies to help out. or do something that they can. I understand there is a staff shortage and you can't force people to come and work for you, but the sidewalks need to be plowed faster if possible.
With more snow expected tomorrow, city roads officials say crews will shift their focus back to busy main road sidewalks. And with more on that snow that we're expected, Mitch Ringos back in the studio with us again. Mitch, what have you got for us?
Well, it seems like every Tuesday, even though I do weather once a week, I always break the news about the snow. And yes, there is more snow on the way and a hefty amount starting tonight. Now, today, we did see a little bit of snow, a little flurries earlier in the day. Most of it was just seen by some clouds. It was colder in the morning, down to -21, but it felt like -26. It warmed up throughout the day at -5. Feeling like -12. The wind from the northwest gusting from 10 to 25 kilometers an hour. But again, there is snow on the way. First, we're going to head to the region starting out west. It was fairly sunny throughout Ontario today, but farther in the west, some clouds making their way in at the moment. -1 currently in Fort Frances, -2 in Kenora. They could be seeing around 5 centimeters starting tonight as this storm makes its way farther south up into the region. So as we head to Red Lake and Pickle Lake at around -4, seeing clouds right now, they also could see snow a little bit later as that storm system makes its way further up, but they're also expecting around 5 centimeters. Now a little colder in Armstrong at -6, also clouds making their way in, -6 in Greenstone as well. They could see a little less snow, but still expecting the impacts later tonight heading into tomorrow. Most of the snow is on Wednesday, but again, it is starting tonight. Sault Ste. Marie, they could see only light flurries as this storm could pass them by. Clouds at the moment, their temperature currently sitting at 0. Now in Thunder Bay, the snow, unfortunately, starting tonight. We're under a snowfall warning from tonight heading through Wednesday. Now tonight we could see anywhere from 10 to 15 centimeters, but throughout the warning we could get as much as 25 centimeters. So a lot of snow making its way in. Tomorrow it is going to be -6. Feeling like -13, and the wind is going to be up, gusting from 15 to 46 kilometers an hour from the east. So we could see some blowing snow as well tonight, but I'll have more on that in just a little bit.
Okay, thanks a lot, Mitch. Well, the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff, Katie Telford, will testify regarding Chinese interference in Canada's last 2 elections. We'll have all the details for you as your Tuesday News Hour continues.
Attempting to work with opposition parties to ensure that they get the opportunity to pose the questions that they want to ask.